As anti-Semitism rears its ugly head, what is being done to fight it? The recent attack against Congregation Beth Israel in Texas reminded us yet again of the clear and present danger of anti-Semitism today. To discuss this and more, I am absolutely pleased to have with us on JBS today, Mr. Josh Kraft. Josh Kraft is the president of the Kraft Philanthropies. He's responsible for the Kraft family's many philanthropic initiatives, among them the Kraft Family Foundation, the Kraft Center for Community Health, the Patriots Foundation, the Revolution Charitable Foundation, and the Foundation to Combat Antisemitism. Through these programs and many more, the Kraft family has donated more than $600 million to the community. Prior to his full-time commitment as the president of the Kraft Family Philanthropies, Josh Kraft spent 30 successful years with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston. Josh, thank you so much for joining us on JBS, all the way from Foxborough, Massachusetts.
Thank you, Shahar. It's great to be here and to be hanging out with someone who's as well-dressed as you.
Thank you so much. Let's first talk about the foundation. Your foundation to combat anti-Semitism. Share with our viewers, how did it come to be? How was it born?
Well, it came to be through my dad. He, in June of 2019, he was honored in Israel with the prestigious Genesis Prize and the dollars that came with that. And he wanted to do something impactful and really make a statement through being honored with such a prestigious prize. So with that, he decided to take the money from that and then donate $20 million of his own money, as well as raise additional funds to start a foundation to combat anti-Semitism. Like so many of us, Jews and some non-Jews, we've seen this really scary rise in anti-Semitism, not just in America, but across the globe. And I know it concerned him, things that he never worried about as a kid, as a young adult, he's starting to think about now. And that was the genesis, literally and figuratively, of the Foundation to Combat Anti-Semitism.
What are the goals that you ascribe to the foundation? What are you hoping to achieve through the work that you're doing? And maybe share with us a little bit about what is it that you actually do?
So I think, Shahar, the first goal, and I'll just keep it simple with the goals, is to educate those, especially those, you can break the world when it comes to anti-Semitism. There's three groups. There's people that are anti-Semitic, no matter what you do, tell them, show them, how much you try to educate them. There are those like you and I who are vehemently opposed to all forms of anti-Semitism. And there's a group in the middle, the don't knows, who it's not that they don't care, but they're not educated about it. So our goal is to reach as many of those don't knows as possible and educate them to the dangers and the evils of anti-Semitism. And as it's rising in the country here in America and across the globe, I know we spoke earlier when we were preparing for this, is that, wherever there's anti-Semitism, racism, homophobia, Islamophobia is not far behind. But anti-Semitism usually is the first. And it really represents a decaying of democracy, the virtues that make democracy so special and unique: equity, diversity, opportunity. With anti-Semitism, you start to see frays and cracks in these essential values of democracy. And once anti-Semitism takes place, other forms of hate are going to be right behind it. So we're trying to educate folks about the dangers of anti-Semitism, its history, what it does, its impact. Specifically, we're doing a lot of work now on social media. And we have something called the Command Center, which is two huge boards in our offices here at Gillette Stadium. And they monitor over 300 million websites, social media platforms, news sites, blogs, forums, what have you, on both the real web and the dark web. And we're able to see trends, what's spiking during the Gaza conflict. How much was the Palestinian versus Israel anti-Zionism, that we saw spikes in anti-Semitic rhetoric based on the conflict. So we're able to monitor that and get in front of things.
You're actually able to monitor the dark web as well when it comes to anti-Semitism?
Yeah, I mean, some of it, not all of it, but both the legit web, I don't know what the right technical term is, maybe, and the dark web. And, what we're able to do with these command centers monitoring over 300 million of these forums, websites, blogs, et cetera, is we can monitor trending topics, as they relate to anti-Semitism or anti-Israel rhetoric, and see who's influencing them, what social media influencers are trending a certain way or not, et cetera.
Josh, I'm sure many of our viewers have this question in mind. For many years, the Jewish community has tried to combat anti-Semitism with, a variety of methods. The truth is that we're still facing this risk, and it's continuously being more and more present in many parts of the United States, not to mention around the world. What, in your opinion, can we do more to better the means so that we are more successful in our mission and see a reduction of anti-Semitic events rather than this continuous increase?
I think, Shahar, the best way is collaboration. And we're so excited. We're hosting a data convening here at the stadium, virtually, of course, with a number of similar organizations that are committed to fighting anti-Semitism, whether it's the ADL, the Secure Community Network, and a bunch of others here, Israel, and in Europe. And we're gonna, that's the key. We want to collaborate, work together. So through this convening, we hope to show people what we're able to do and see how their data collection fits into it. But more importantly, as we get reports and as we see trends, it's not about showing the trends and sharing the trends, but it's figuring out the most impactful way to take action against the trends and how to make a real impact in things. And I guess the best example, and I mentioned two of the Secure Community Network, Mike Masters, his great work, and the ADL, they've been working together with federations across the country, teaching safety precautions at, I think it's 1,200 Jewish organizations, JCCs, synagogues, elderly centers, day schools, et cetera. And the rabbi at the Texas synagogue, the training he got on how, helped him get him and the other folks out of the building when he threw the chair at the precise time, and at the anti-Semitic terrorist, and they all get out of the building. Now it's directly because of the great collaborative efforts led by SCN, the ADL, and other groups, making sure these trainings are accessible to Jewish organizations across the country. So we kind of see the same thing. We're going to start to share our data, figure out these trends, how we can get in front of these trends, how we can intercept them. And like anything, it's about working together and collaboration to make the real impact.
These, Josh, I think are perfect words that you're mentioning now that really differentiate your efforts. Share, words like collaborate and work together, that could make all the difference for us. And thank you for that vision and incredible step forward. Hopefully that will be incredibly helpful in our efforts. But you know what? You mentioned the Colleyville, Texas incident at Congregation Beth Israel. I want to ask you, you're talking about anti-Semitic terror rather casually and acknowledging the fact that it's anti-Semitism, but it wasn't clear to everyone that this was clear-cut anti-Semitism, right?
Yeah, it's so scary. It's, people go to synagogue or go to church to gather and to be in a community of safety, of like-minded people of heart, of kindness, of togetherness, of unity. And that safety has been violated in these synagogues. I mean, there's guards at synagogues, there's security at synagogues across the country. And immediately when you walk in, instead of wanting to feel, that immediately puts you on guard. And down in Texas, when it's really sad but scary, I think, to a lot of Jewish folks, that the first reports were, this is not a terrorist attack, this is not a specific attack on Jews. And it's so obvious that it was. And give credit where credit's due. It was retracted and the right statements were made. But it's scary to so many folks, I think Jewish folks, Shahar, I assume to you too, that in this great country, the United States, with democracy, equality, equity, freedom of religion, there's security. You're going by a synagogue when you see police out front. Is that a church or a synagogue? Oh, it's a synagogue because look, there's 2 police cars out front.
I can tell you that even the FBI didn't get it right at the beginning, right?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the FBI's statement. And then they did correct it. So and thank you to them for correcting it. That means a lot. But before you make a statement, the real facts need to be garnered and shared with folks.
You're mentioning the security guards outside of synagogues, and I can tell you that on a personal level, I'll never forget many years ago when I was in London, I went to shul, and as an Israeli who lived all his life and was born and raised in Israel, the realization of anti-Semitic reality did not really permeate. And arriving in London, I decided I want to go to shul Friday night, and I made my way to shul, and I didn't carry any ID with me. And they wouldn't let me in. They were not sure of my identity. And yet this is the kind of reality we live in, because it's not out of sheer evil that they won't let people in, but it's this fear. And even in this case in Colleyville, Texas, the rabbi actually opened the door to the terrorists, right? And even
that's part of our tradition, hospitality, welcoming people in, supporting, that's Jewish tradition, Haknasa Orchin, correct? And let people in, hospitality, kindness. And that's what we do. And that's what we're always going to do.
That's what we're always going to do.
We're always going to do it. And the sad thing is, you can't, that we can always do it, but we still have to have security in front of our buildings.
Right.
And this is America. It's freedom of religion. It's the ability to live the life you want to live. And it's sad. It's really scary and sad.
Yes. I always keep on going back to that image of the rabbi making tea for the terrorists. It's just unbelievable. I also want to take a moment. You mentioned very astutely that the foundation's work is actually focused not at those who are in the know, like us, and those who are in the anti, but you're actually focusing into the middle, the majority of the public, making them more aware of what anti-Semitism is. I want to ask you, are you seeing a lot of ignorance when it comes to anti-Semitism?
And I think, I don't know if it's ignorance or just, you could say ignorance, but it's just don't know. And I think part of the issue is, I don't think people realize how small the Jewish population is worldwide. What is it, 12, 14 million people?
Right. Yes.
And, point whatever, 2 of the population. I don't know how 0.2 of the population can control, the whole world, as anti-Semites like to say. And I think people don't realize how few Jewish people there are. And I don't think people realize, and I'm not, if someone goes to a church every day and doesn't, or every Sunday, or goes to mass every morning, they just walk in and do. And until they probably have to see, I'm going to my friend's son's bar mitzvah or a Jewish wedding, and they go in and someone says, can you write your name here? And there's 2 or 3 police officers there, or worse yet, a metal detector in front of. Maybe it resonates like, wow, I went to mass yesterday morning. I didn't have to do this, and I never have to do it. You know,
Right.
my grandchild's communion, my child's first communion. We invited some friends and family. Nobody, there was no guards out front. The door was open. And that's really, if you really think about that, I mean, a synagogue, a place of, like I said before, a place of gathering, a place of community, a place of shared experience. No matter how religious you are, you should always feel at home and safe there. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen for Jewish people.
And
And
these
that's scary.
anti-Semitic tropes keep on repeating themselves, reinventing themselves as we move on. You mentioned before the flyers about COVID.
Yeah.
Even now.
Yeah, when we were speaking earlier today, it just changes. You know, the two examples just in the last week. The flyers saying that Jews created the whole COVID, the whole whatever conspiracy of COVID. Yeah, we created it, exactly. And on the heels of the anti-Semitic terrorist in Texas, thinking if he called this prominent woman rabbi in New York, she could get this prisoner he wanted released out of prison, this terrorist released out of prison, because Jews have so much power. Again, it's just ingrained in people's heads, and it's you know, hundreds of years ago, 100 medieval days, and it's just carried on. It just manifests itself in different ways. And now part of the problem is we just don't have to watch the right. I know it's obvious now. We have to watch on the political left, who does subscribe to some of these theories. You know, there's always comments from a lot of progressive politicians about people with the Benjamins. We know who they're talking about, and comments about Israel and Jews. And it's just, when you have it from both sides, I mean, that's kind of scary as well.
It really is. It really is. You know, I wanted to ask you about your work on the social media sphere. The term "Together Beat Hate."
Right. So Together Beat Hate.
About what that is. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the front-facing initiative of the Foundation of Combat Antisemitism, and you can find it on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And we post, you know, on Twitter. Just yesterday, we posted about the flyers. There's always an Instagram post every day, 2 or 3 Twitter posts. We do some TikTok as well. So, and it's just, again, educating people, making people aware of anti-Semitism, no matter what form it is taking, no matter how it's manifesting itself.
But even in those words, Josh, together beat hate. There is.
Well, that goes back to what Shahar, you and I both talked about at the beginning, is together, because look, in the end of this country, again, it's about diversity, it's about unity, it's about equity. And as we said, wherever there's anti-Semitism is alive and well. It's the first stages of the fraying of the values that make democracy so special and so strong. And right behind it are other forms of hate, be it racism, homophobia, Islamophobia. And, you know, together we have to beat hate. We got to beat anti-Semitism. We got to beat other forms of hate. And we got to do it together as a group. You know, the most powerful thing that came out of Texas was that imam from Texas that said, do you know what I'm talking? He came out with, I forget his name, a statement saying, look, 10% of people of my faith are anti-Semitic, I know, but 90% of us aren't. And 90% of us aren't speaking out on behalf of our Jewish brothers and sisters. And that's so powerful. That's so courageous. And that's such a statement, but that's it. Together beat hate. And we'll work together to beat anti-Semitism. Together we'll beat Islamophobia. We'll beat homophobia, racism. But again, it's together. And it always seems to start with anti-Semitism. And, you know,
the idea for the foundation, and I think it's very, very important to make sure our viewers understand the idea is coming together and taking action. And the fact that you're using the foundation's assets, the follow-up on the dark web and online of what's happening, trending topics, and trying to use this for the benefit of the entire community. That's really innovative thinking in the Jewish professional world. And I congratulate you for it. And I think it's highly needed. And I'm just wondering, what has been the reaction from other organizations who are fighting anti-Semitism, and here comes the big new players onto the field? How do they react to your outreach?
I think it goes back to what, again, we talked about already: collaboration, working together, being open to finding out ways that we can support each other's work. Because in the end, I think it's something like 200 organizations in America fighting anti-Semitism, but and our missions might be a little bit different, but in the end, the big picture mission is always the same: combating anti-Semitism. And we have to learn to work with each other, support each other where we need to be supported, and then celebrate each other's strengths and find ways to make to impact anti-Semitism. And I think it's really through those collaborative efforts. And it's not just putting out a report or talking about this or that. It's putting out the report and saying, okay, this is a report and this is what we have to do. We got to get on the ground. We got to get on college campuses, high school campuses. We know this is here now. We know this is fermenting here, and here. So what are we going to do about it?
That's incredible. You also mentioned before that you're on TikTok.
Yes, a little bit on TikTok. Yeah.
So I don't think you have a lot of the Jewish organization or presence on TikTok, and congratulations for that, because you keep on mentioning the younger generation, and this is definitely one of the major pathways to reach that generation.
Yes.
And last, I just want to make sure that everybody is up to par. If people want to communicate, follow what you do, receive materials from the foundation, how can that be done?
Well, the best thing to go is look up Together Beat Hate on Instagram, all one word, on Twitter and Facebook. And you'll get to our sites, you'll get to our information, and you'll learn, from there as well.
Incredible. Well, that was wonderful to hear. Thank you so much, Josh. I really appreciate you coming on JBS to share with our viewers the work of the foundation and that important and innovative thinking of actually, we're too small to do it alone. Let's do it together. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, well, thank you, Shahar, and thank you to everybody who watches this. We appreciate it. And look, as I said, it's a great country, and there shouldn't, no house of worship, no matter what the religion is or denomination, should have guards out front, ever.
Indeed, true words. Thank you again for joining us on JBS, for your commitment and for your family's commitment to the community as a whole and to the Jewish community and the state of Israel in particular. It means a lot.
Thank you, Shahar.